The Social Security lie that steals $150,000 from seniors, the claiming secret exposed. You've been told to file at 62 to lock it in. That lie can quietly erase $150,000 over your lifetime because it shrinks not just your check, but your spouse's and your survivor's too. The thing most people miss: spousal, survivor, and delayed credits can stack strategically. I'll show you the exact claiming order that keeps more money in your pocket. We'll expose hidden penalties, the break-even myth, and the overlooked spousal boosts. Stay for the survivor sequence. One move changes your lifetime payout. No fluff, straight tactics. I'll give you the simple 62/67/70 matrix that makes decisions easy, and a one-page checklist you can copy. If you're within 24 months of filing, pause what you're doing and watch to the end so you don't lock in an avoidable six-figure mistake. The $150,000 problem: why early filing bleeds you dry. Here's the problem. When you file at 62, you permanently cut your base benefit, and that smaller base ripples through every other Social Security check tied to you: spousal, survivor, and any future cost of living increases. The reduction isn't temporary, it's forever. And because Social Security applies annual COLAs to whatever your check is at the time, you'll get a smaller raise on a smaller check every single year. Why this matters: your full retirement age, generally 66 to 67 depending on your birth year, is the anchor. File before it, and your benefit is reduced based on how early you claim. For someone with FRA at 67, claiming at 62 means roughly a 30% permanent cut to your own retirement benefit. That's not just a lower number now. That's the number every increase is built on for life. On the flip side, if you delay beyond FRA, you earn delayed retirement credits, about 8% per year, until age 70. Those credits stack, and they also lift the survivor benefit your spouse could receive after you're gone. What most calculators miss is the family impact, especially for couples. A lot of break-even charts compare claim at 62 versus 70, based only on your lifetime if you live to a certain age. They ignore that one of you will likely outlive the other, and that the survivor usually ends up with the larger of the two checks. If the higher earner files early, the survivor is stuck with a permanently lower floor. That's where 5- and six-figure losses creep in. Let me put numbers around it. Conceptually, suppose your FRA benefit, called your PI, is $2,000 per month. File at 62, and it's around $1,400 permanently. Delay to 70 with DRCs, and you're near $2,480. That's a $1,080 monthly spread between early and max delay. Over 20 years before COLAs, that's more than $250,000 in gross difference on the higher earner's record alone. Add COLAs, and the gap widens because 2% on $2,480 is more dollars than 2% on $1,400. And in a couple, the survivor potentially keeps that larger delayed amount for life. Now here's the kicker. Spousal and survivor benefits are both tied to the worker's FRA amount and claiming choices, but they behave differently. Spousal benefits, up to 50% of the worker's FRA benefit, don't earn delayed credits. Survivor benefits can reflect what the deceased was actually getting, including delayed credits, subject to Age Act claiming reductions. When the higher earner delays to 70, that decision effectively raises the survivor's income floor for the rest of their life. When the higher earner files early, it locks the lowest survivor floor. That's the hidden $150,000 leak. Another trap is cash, now versus less forever. I get it. Maybe you're thinking, a smaller check at 62 still helps my budget. But ask this: am I trading a permanent 25% to 30% haircut for a temporary cash need? If the answer is yes, there are better ways. A simple quick win is to estimate your lifetime impact. Take your FRA amount from your Social Security statement. Look at the 62 amount, the FRA amount, and the 70 amount. Multiply each by a realistic horizon, say 20 to 25 years, and factor that one of you may live longer. The higher earner delaying almost always improves the combined lifetime total, especially when you consider the survivor. And don't forget the COLA multiplier. Even modest COLAs compound on the base. A cut today compounds into a bigger gap later, over 15 to 20 years. That difference shows up every month. People look back and realize the early filing decision didn't just reduce their income. It reduced every raise and the survivor's protection. 2. Let's address the break-even myth head-on. You'll see charts saying you have to live to 78 or 80 to break even. Those charts assume you're a single person, no spousal dynamics, no survivor math, no taxes, and often no COLAs. Real life isn't that clean. In real life, at least one spouse often lives into their 80s or 90s. The higher check tends to be the one that lasts. Therefore, focusing only on a personal break-even misses the biggest financial risk in retirement, longevity risk, and the survivor's future income. Here's a quick rule of thumb to use today. If you're the higher earner and you're reasonably healthy, treat 70 as your default target. If you need cash, consider a bridge from savings or part-time income rather than locking in a smaller Social Security base. If you're the lower earner and the budget's tight, filing earlier can sometimes make sense, but only if it doesn't force the higher earner to file early. Protect the survivor floor first, then optimize the rest. Once you see how the early cut compounds through spousal, survivor, and COLA, the next piece clicks, coordinating who files when. That's where the 62/67/70 matrix simplifies everything. The 62/67/70 matrix, the claiming model pros use. Let's make the decision easy. The 62/67/70 matrix lines up 3 anchor ages with 3 roles in your household: worker, spouse, survivor. It uses one simple truth. Your full retirement age is the reference point, 62 is the earliest with reductions, and 70 is the latest with maximum delayed credits. Once you map who's the higher earner and who's the lower earner, the order of filing becomes obvious. Why this works: the matrix forces you to protect the survivor floor first. The higher earner's decision sets the family's last check because the survivor typically receives the larger benefit. So the higher earner usually treats age 70 as the default unless health or cash emergencies say otherwise. The lower earner has flexibility to support cash flow without damaging that survivor floor. Here's what each anchor age means. Age 62, earliest filing permanently reduced. Age 67, or your FRA full benefit, no reduction, and it unlocks spousal coordination without penalties. Age 70, the maximum benefit for your own record thanks to delayed retirement credits. You can't earn credits past 70, so there's no reason to wait beyond that. Now the matrix rules. Rule 1. Identify the higher earner using each spouse's FRA benefit, your PIA on the Social Security statement. The higher PIA sets the family floor. Rule 2. If the higher earner is in average or better health, aim for 70 to raise both lifetime income and the survivor benefit. Rule 3. The lower earner can file earlier, sometimes as early as 62 if that helps cash flow, but should plan to step up to a spousal benefit at their FRA if it's larger than their own. Rule 4. Avoid both spouses filing early unless there's a serious need, because that locks the smallest survivor check. Let me show you how it plays out. Say partner A's FRA amount is $2,400 and partner B's is $1,000. Using the matrix, partner A delays to 70 to maximize their check, lifting the survivor floor. Partner B can file their own benefit earlier if needed to cover expenses, then at their FRA check whether a spousal benefit, up to 50% of Partner A's FRA amount, is larger than their own. If it is, they step up then. This keeps cash coming in without sacrificing the long-term, larger survivor check. Once you nail this, everything else clicks. The thing most people miss is that spousal benefits are tied to the worker's FRA amount, not the worker's delayed amount, and spousal benefits don't earn delayed credits. That's why the timing is different for each spouse. The higher earner delays to raise the survivor floor. The lower earner times their own and spousal sequence to fill income gaps without blocking the higher earner's delay. Here's a quick checkpoint. If either spouse files before their FRA, that spouse's benefit is reduced. And if the lower earner triggers a reduced spousal early, that reduction sticks. So in the matrix, the lower earner can take their own reduced benefit, if needed, but should avoid taking a reduced spousal early when a full spousal at FRA would be bigger. The shortcut nobody teaches is this split timing approach. Early own for cash, wait for full spousal. Now the exceptions. If the higher earner's health is poor, the matrix can flip. Taking earlier might make sense for that person, but only after checking how that choice affects the survivor amount. If the lower earner has the health concern, the default still holds. Keep the higher earner delaying to protect the survivor floor. Another factor is the earnings test. If either spouse plans to work and hasn't reached FRA, benefits can be temporarily withheld. The matrix adapts by pushing filing closer to FRA to avoid unnecessary withholdings that complicate cash flow. Let me give you a micro story. A couple I coached had both planned to file at 62 out of fear. We mapped their matrix. Higher earner to 70, lower earner at 62 on their own record, then step to spousal at FRA. The higher earner's protected delay raised the survivor floor by hundreds per month. Over their expected lifetimes, that change projected well over 6 figures in combined income compared to both filing early. If you remember nothing else, remember this. The higher earner's age at filing sets the survivor floor, the lower earners. Timing supports cash flow and spousal coordination. Use 62 for cash, 67 to unlock full spousal, 70 to maximize the final family check. Now, the spousal rules will actually make sense. Spousal benefits 101, the half check that isn't half. Now, let's clean up the biggest confusion, spousal benefits. The headline rule is simple, but the details trip people up. A spousal benefit can be up to 50% of the worker's FRA benefit, also called their PIA, not 50% of the worker's delayed amount at 70, not 50% plus credits. It's pegged to the worker's PA. That's why your spouse delaying helps the survivor benefit later, but it does not increase your spousal amount. Why this matters: if you expect your spousal to grow when your spouse delays to 70, you'll likely under budget. The spousal doesn't earn delayed credits at all. Only your own worker benefit earns delayed credits if you wait past FRA. So the play is different for each of you. The higher earner delays to build the survivor floor. The lower earner coordinates their own benefit and spousal timing to maximize the larger of the two. Here's what spousal actually is. If your spouse has a PIA of $2,400, the maximum spousal benefit at your FRA is $1,200. Period. If your own benefit at your FRA is $900, you may receive a step up of $300 at your FRA to get you to $1,200 when your spouse has filed. But if you claim that spousal early, the spousal portion is reduced, and that reduction sticks for life. Early is permanent, the gate most people miss. You can't collect a spousal benefit until the worker has filed. If your spouse hasn't filed, you generally can't get spousal, even if you're at FRA, unless you're in the small group still eligible for a restricted application. We'll hit that next. For most people today, the sequence is your spouse files, then your spousal can turn on. If they're delaying to 70, you'll start with your own benefit if needed, and then step up to spousal at your FRA once your spouse files, and if the spousal is larger than your own. Restricted application, the last remaining loophole. Now, let's talk about the strategy almost nobody explains clearly: restricted application. This is the last remaining loophole, and it only works for people born on or before January 1st, 1954. If that's you, this can be a quiet income boost between your full retirement age and 70, while your own benefit grows with delayed credits. If you were born after that, skip ahead. The law closed this door for you. Here's the idea in plain English. At your FRA, you file a restricted application for spousal benefits only. You're telling Social Security, pay me the spousal benefit based on my spouse's record, but do not start my own retirement benefit. While you collect that spousal check, your own benefit keeps earning delayed retirement credits, about 8% per year, until you switch to your own benefit at age 70. You get income now and a bigger personal check later. That combo can add up to meaningful dollars over a lifetime. Eligibility has a few gates you need to clear. First, your birth date on or before January 1st, 1954. Second, you must be at least your FRA when you file the restricted application. Filing early won't work for this. Third, your spouse must have filed for their own retirement benefit, or if you're divorced, your ex must be at least 62, your prior marriage lasted at least 10 years, and you're currently unmarried. In a divorce case, you can often file spousal only at FRA even if your ex hasn't filed yet, as long as they're eligible by age. That's a unique advantage for divorce claimants. Documentation matters. When you file, you need to be crystal clear that you're restricting your application to spousal benefits only. Use the words, "I am restricting the scope of this application to spousal benefits under Section 202R of the Social Security Act." You can file online, but many people prefer making an appointment or calling to ensure the restriction is properly noted. Keep copies of every confirmation and letter. A common mistake kills this option. If you file for your own retirement benefit early, say at 62, you permanently lose the ability to later restrict because you've already triggered your own. The moment you claim your own benefit, deemed filing rules apply for most people, and your record is on, there's no undo button that restores the full restricted application pathway. So if you're eligible by birth year and want this strategy, do not start your own benefit before FRA. Let me give you a clean example. You were born in 1953, your FRA is 66, and your spouse has already filed. At 66, you file a restricted application to take only the spousal benefit, which could be up to 50% of your spouse's PI. You collect that spousal from 66 through 70. Meanwhile, your own benefit earns delayed credits each month. At 70, you switch to your own, now maximized benefit, often 32% higher than at FRA. You got paid for 4 years and still locked in the biggest personal check. 2 quick guardrails. 1, spousal benefits themselves don't grow past FRA, so there's no point delaying the restricted spousal beyond your FRA. 2, if your spouse hasn't filed yet and they're not divorced from you, your spousal won't start until they file. In that case, coordinate. The lower earner might start their own, the higher earner may still delay, and you turn on the restricted spousal once eligible. If you're too young for restricted application, don't worry. You still have strong levers, delayed credits on your own benefit, and survivor sequencing. That's where we're headed next. Survivor benefits, the check that decides your retirement. This is the check that likely decides your retirement. In most couples, one person outlives the other, and the survivor typically keeps the larger of the 2 benefits, often the higher earner's amount, including any delayed credits they earned. That's why the higher earner's filing age doesn't just affect their lifetime income. It sets the income floor the survivor may live on for decades. Here's the core rule in plain English. A surviving spouse can receive up to 100% of what the deceased worker was actually receiving or entitled to receive at death, subject to age-based reductions if the survivor claims before their full retirement age. If the higher earner delayed to 70, those delayed retirement credits carry over and permanently lift the survivor benefit. If the higher earner filed early, that reduction also carries over and permanently lowers the survivor benefit. The choice echoes beyond your lifetime. Why this matters more than any break-even chart, survivor benefits are about longevity risk. If one of you lives into your late 80s or 90s, the survivor benefit is the check that has to keep pace with rising costs. A bigger base today means every future cost of living adjustment adds more dollars. A smaller base today means smaller raises forever. Over 15 to 25 years of COLAs, that gap becomes massive. Now, let me separate survivor benefits from spousal benefits because people mix them up. Spousal benefits, during both spouses' lifetimes, are based on up to 50% of the worker's FRA amount and do not earn delayed credits. Survivor benefits are different. They can match what the deceased was actually getting, including delayed credits, and they can exceed 50% significantly. That's the hidden power of having the higher earner wait to 70. Timing rules matter. If the survivor is at or beyond their own FRA when they claim the survivor benefit, they can receive the full survivor amount. If they claim earlier, the survivor benefit is reduced. There's also coordination to consider. The survivor can switch between benefits to optimize. For example, the survivor might take their own reduced retirement benefit first, then at FRA switch to the full survivor benefit, or vice versa, depending on amounts and ages. The aim is to collect the larger check over the longest period. Here's a clean example that shows why the higher earner's delay is critical. Suppose Alex is the higher earner with an FRA benefit of $2,400. If Alex files at 62, that benefit drops to roughly $1,680. If Alex delays to 70, it rises to about $3,168 with delayed credits. If Alex passes first, the survivor, Jordan, could receive up to $1,680 or up to $3,168, depending entirely on Alex's choice. That decision alone sets the survivor's monthly income floor before COLAs for life. That's a six-figure swing over a long retirement. Early death scenario. If the higher earner files at 62 but passes away at 69, the survivor doesn't get an automatic bump to the age 70 level. They inherit the reduced base the higher earner locked in, adjusted for any COLAs. That's the damage of filing early on the wrong record. Conversely, if the higher earner delayed, then passed, the survivor inherits that larger delayed amount. Coordination tip: survivor benefits and your own benefits are separate tracks. You can start one and switch to the other later if it results in a larger lifetime total. A common pattern is for a widow, with a smaller personal benefit to take the survivor benefit as soon as they reach FRA for survivors, because it's the bigger check, or to take their own reduced benefit early, and then switch to the full survivor at their FRA. The right sequence depends on ages and dollar amounts, so run both pathways using your SSA statement numbers. One more nuance: survivor benefits can be claimed as early as age 60, age 50 if disabled, but claiming before survivor FRA reduces the amount. If cash is tight, taking a reduced survivor early can be a lifeline, but know that waiting to survivor FRA preserves more income. Also, if the survivor is working and under FRA, the earnings test can temporarily withhold benefits. Though those withholdings don't permanently reduce the survivor benefit, they're effectively credited later through increased amounts. Let me give you a quick win you can use now. default to higher earner. Delays to 70-inch unless there's a serious health concern or immediate cash emergency. That one move often raises the survivor benefit by hundreds per month, every month, for potentially decades. If cash is tight, consider the lower earner filing earlier on their own record to bridge the gap, or use savings or part-time work to reach the higher earner's age 70 target. Common mistakes to avoid: both spouses filing early, which locks the smallest survivor floor. Assuming spousal rules apply to survivor benefits, they don't. And ignoring the earnings test before FRA, which can create confusing withholdings if the survivor is still working. Another mistake is failing to revisit the plan when health changes. If the higher earner's health deteriorates, rerun the survivor math quickly. You may still decide to delay if the goal is to protect the survivor, but at least you're deciding with clear numbers. If you remember nothing else, remember this: the higher earner's filing age is the survivor's paycheck decision. Protect that floor first, then coordinate who files when to keep cash flowing without sacrificing the long-term income the survivor will rely on. When breaking the rules is smart: health, work, and cash flow. One-size advice breaks when your health or income shifts in your 60s. The goal doesn't change: protect the survivor floor and keep enough cash flowing, but the path can. So let's walk through when it's smart to bend the higher earner to 70 default and how to do it without blowing up your long-term plan. Start with health. If your life expectancy is shortened by a serious diagnosis, claiming earlier can make sense for you personally. But here's the guardrail: if you're the higher earner, your filing age still sets the survivor's long-term income. So even with health concerns, ask, does delaying to 70 meaningfully improve my spouse's survivor benefit? If yes, and if you can bridge the gap with savings or part-time income, keep delaying. If you're the lower earner with health issues, filing early rarely harms the survivor floor. Your own reduced check is less critical to the long-term math, so that's often the right valve to open. Next, the earnings test. If you file before your full retirement age and you're still working, Social Security can withhold part of your benefit when your wages exceed the annual limit. People hear withheld and panic. Don't. Withheld months aren't lost forever. Your benefit is recalculated at FRA to credit those months back. The real risk isn't losing money, it's cash flow headaches. If your income will clearly exceed the limit, consider waiting until FRA so you're not turning benefits on and off, and so you avoid triggering a reduced spousal early by accident. Now, the bridge strategy. If cash is tight, but you want the higher earner to reach 70, use savings intentionally. Think of it as buying a bigger lifetime Social Security annuity. Pull from safe cash CDs, or a conservative slice of your portfolio to cover the gap. Then let the larger age 70 check reduce portfolio withdrawals later. Many couples also combine this with part-time work from the lower earner who may already be retired from a career but can bring in light income without blowing up the plan. What if you have zero savings or heavy debt? Sometimes the right move is to stabilize the household first. In that case, the lower earner filing early can be the pressure release. Turn on their smaller benefit to stop high-interest debt from snowballing while guarding the higher earner's delay. If debt is extreme and the higher earner must file, run the survivor math first. Could 6 to 12 months of aggressive expense cuts or a short-term job keep the higher earner on track to 70? If yes, do that. If not, target at least reaching FRA to avoid the largest early reductions. 2 practical sequences that work. Sequence A: higher earner delays to 70. Lower earner files own benefit at 62 to 64 for cash, then steps up to full spousal at their FRA if larger. Sequence B: if working and under FRA, both wait until the year they hit FRA to avoid earnings test withholdings. Then lower earner files first, higher earner continues to 70. Both sequences protect the survivor floor while smoothing cash. A quick micro story. A couple in their mid-60s had medical bills and no cash cushion. We kept the higher earner on track. For 70, had the lower earner file at 63 on their own record and picked up 2 days a week of part-time work. That small combo bridged $1,000 a month for 24 months. Result, the survivor floor rose by over $700 per month for life compared to both filing early. Here are clean rules of thumb. Health issue on the lower earner, file them early if needed. Health issue on the higher earner, rerun survivor math. Delay if it materially boosts the survivor. Working before FRA, consider waiting to avoid withholdings chaos. No savings? Use the lower earner's early claim or short-term work to bridge, not the higher earners. The aim is simple: cover today without sacrificing the bigger check you may need for decades. Your numbers: pull, read, and fix your SSA record. Before you choose ages, you need clean numbers. If your statement is wrong, every decision after that is off. So let's get your data straight, fast. Create or log into your My Social Security account at ssa.gov. Download your latest Social Security statement and the earnings record. You'll see 3 critical amounts: your benefit at 62, your full retirement age benefit, your PI, and your benefit at 70. Those are the anchors for all the strategies we've covered. Start with the earnings record. Scan year by year. You're looking for gaps, zeros, or amounts that don't match your tax returns or W-2s. Your benefit is calculated from your highest 35 years of indexed earnings. A missing year in your top 35 can lower your PI and every future check. If you see a gap that shouldn't be there, gather proof: W-2s, 1099s, tax transcripts, or employer letters. Then use Form SSA 7008 to request a correction, or open a case through your online account and follow up by phone. Corrections can raise your PI, which lifts retirement, spousal comparisons, and even survivor math. Next, confirm your FRA. Most people today have an FRA of 66 to 67, depending on birth year. Your statement shows it. Circle it. That age sets your PI and all reduction factors and is the gate for full spousal benefits. Now write down 3 numbers for each spouse or ex-eligible person. Benefit at 62, at FRA, and at 70. For the lower earner, also note the potential spousal at their FRA, up to 50% of the worker's PI. Remember, spousal is based on PI, not the delayed amount. If you worked in a job that didn't pay into Social Security, like certain public sector roles, check for WEP and GPO exposure. The windfall elimination provision can reduce your own retirement benefit if you have a pension from non-covered work. The government pension offset can reduce or eliminate spousal and survivor benefits if you receive a government pension from non-covered work. Your statement may not show these adjustments clearly, so if you have a non-covered pension, run the WEP and GPO calculators on ssa.gov and note the potential reductions. This prevents nasty surprises when you file. Now calculate your PIA-driven comparisons. For the lower earner, compare their own FRA benefit to the spousal at FRA using the higher earner's PIA. If spousal is larger, plan a step up at FRA. If their own is larger, spousal won't matter. For both spouses, write a simple grid. 62, FRA 70 amounts. Add a column for spousal at FRA for the lower earner. Add a column for survivor if higher earner dies, which mirrors the higher earner's actual claimed amount, adjusted by survivor timing. This turns abstract rules into specific dollars. Check your 35-year count. If you have fewer than 35 years of covered earnings, each missing year is a 0 that drags your average down. Even one more year of work can replace a 0 with a positive number and slightly raise your PIA. If you're near retirement, Estimate whether an extra year or two of earnings would land in your top 35. If yes, that year boosts every future check, including the survivor amount if you're the higher earner. 2 quick wins most people skip. 1. Verify names, birth dates, and marital history are correct on your SSA record. Errors here can delay spousal or survivor claims. 2. If you're divorced and potentially eligible on an ex's record, collect the dates, marriage start, divorce final, so you can document the 10-year rule and current marital status. You don't need your ex's permission to claim, but having dates speeds up processing. Finally, map your filing windows. Benefits are paid 1 month in arrears, and you can file up to 4 months before the month you want benefits to start. Write down your target months of entitlement. For example, higher earner, September of age 70, lower earner, own benefit January of 63. Step up to spousal at FRA month. Note Medicare coordination around 65. So you don't miss Part B enrollment if you're not covered by active employer insurance. Keep this one-page snapshot with your evidence file, W-2s, pension details, marriage/divorce documents, and your SSA login so you're ready to execute with zero guesswork. The two-earner marriage playbook. Coordinating 2 benefits is how you turn 2 modest checks into 1 strong survivor floor. The guiding principle is simple. The higher earner's decision sets the final paycheck the survivor may live on. So we design around that, then use the lower earner's timing to support cash flow without shrinking the survivor's future income. Start by labeling roles. Write higher earner and lower earner next to each spouse's PIA from the SSA statement. The higher earner usually treats age 70 as the default to maximize delayed retirement credits. The lower earner gets flexibility. Earlier filing can be fine if it doesn't force the higher earner to claim early. Here's the standard sequence that works for most couples. The higher earner delays to 70. The lower earner checks 3 numbers. Own at 62, own at FRA, and spousal at FRA using the higher earner's PIA. If cash is tight, the lower earner can file their own benefit early, say 62 to 64, to bring income into the household. Then, at their FRA, they evaluate stepping up to a spousal benefit if it's larger. That own early spousal at FRA. Move keeps money flowing while preserving the bigger survivor floor that comes from the higher earner's delay. 2 rules keep you out of trouble. 1. Do not take a reduced spousal early unless you've confirmed it still beats waiting for full spousal at FRA. Early spousal reductions stick for life. 2. Don't make the higher earner file early just to trigger spousal. If you need income, use the lower earner's own benefit first, or bridge with savings or part-time work, so the higher earner can keep earning 8% annual credits to 70. Let's put numbers to it. Say Pat's PI is $2,600 and Sam's PI is $900. Pat delays to 70, lifting their check to roughly $3,432 with delayed credits. Sam could claim there. Own at 62, about $630. Then at Sam's FRA, check whether a spousal based on Pat's PI is larger. Half of $2,600 is $1,300 at Sam's FRA. If $1,300 beats Sam's own, Sam steps up at FRA. Net effect, cash earlier from Sam, then a higher combined income later. And the survivor floor anchored by Pat's age 70 benefit. Now, synchronization. Spousal benefits can't start until the worker files. If Pat is delaying to 70, Sam's spousal can't turn on before that. That's fine. Sam uses their own benefit first and switches at FRA when Pat files. The key is writing down the month Pat will file and the month Sam reaches FRA. So the step-up happens automatically with a clean request to SSA. Common mistake number 1. Both spouses filing at 62. That locks the smallest survivor check and reduces every COLA dollar for life. Mistake number 2. lower earner takes a reduced spousal early, not realizing the spousal portion is permanently cut and based on the worker's PI, not the delayed amount. Mistake number 3, forgetting the earnings test. If either spouse will earn over the limit before FRA, benefits may be withheld. That doesn't permanently reduce the benefit, but it complicates cash flow and can accidentally trigger reduced spousal early. If work is ongoing, consider waiting until FRA to simplify. What if money is tight, but you want Pat to reach 70? Use a bridge, pull from cash reserves or a safe slice of your portfolio, or add light part-time work for the lower earner. Treat it as buying a larger, inflation-adjusted lifetime check for the household. Often, 2 years of bridging produces decades of higher income for the survivor. Health can flip the sequence. If the lower earner has health concerns, filing them early makes sense and doesn't harm the survivor floor. If the higher earner has significant health issues, rerun the survivor math. Sometimes claiming at FRA rather than 70 is a reasonable compromise to protect the survivor more than an early 62 claim would. Document why you're bending the default and set a review date in 6 months. Here's the quick playbook you can copy. Step 1. Identify the higher earner and circle age 70 as the default. Step 2. Map the lower earner's own at 62 and spousal at FRA amounts. Then choose the earlier own filing only if needed. Step 3. Write target months. Lower earners start month, higher earners age 70 month, and the lower earners FRA month for the spousal step up. Step 4. Add a bridge plan, cash, part-time income, or expenses you'll pause. Step 5. Check for earnings test exposure and avoid triggering reduced spousal early. Do this, and you'll raise lifetime income, protect the survivor, and keep today's budget stable. Divorced spouse benefits. Hidden income for the eligible. If you're divorced, there may be money sitting on the table with your name on it, and your ex never needs to know. The rule most people miss is simple. If your prior marriage lasted at least 10 years, you're currently unmarried, and you're age eligible, you can often claim benefits based on your ex's record. Their benefits don't go down. They won't be notified of the amount you receive. And if you qualify, this can meaningfully boost lifetime income. Here's what that looks like in practice. At your full retirement age, you can receive up to 50% of your ex's primary insurance amount, their FRA benefit, if that's higher than your own. Just like married spousal benefits, this is tied to your ex's PA, not any delayed credits they might earn. And just like married spousal benefits, this ex-spousal amount doesn't earn delayed credits for you. So the move is to compare your own benefit at FRA to 50% of your ex's PA. If the ex-spousal is larger, that's your target at FRA. A few key gates. Your prior marriage must have lasted 10 consecutive years or more. You must be currently unmarried to claim on an ex's record for spousal benefits. If you remarried, you generally lose access to an ex-spousal benefit while that new marriage is in place. If you're divorced for at least 2 years and both of you are 62 or older, you can typically claim on the ex's record even if they haven't filed yet. This is sometimes called independently entitled status. That's a useful door. You don't have to wait on their decision. Now, survivor rules after an ex passes are different and often better. If your ex-spouse dies and you meet the criteria, you may be eligible for a divorce survivor benefit that can be up to 100% of what your ex was receiving or entitled to receive, subject to timing rules. Critically, remarriage after age 60 generally does not block you from a divorce survivor benefit. Remarriage before 60 usually does. That single detail can change a lifetime of income, so write it down and plan around it. Coordination is where the value shows up. If your own benefit will eventually be larger at 70, but you qualify for an ex-spousal at FRA, you can take the ex-spousal at your FRA and switch to your own at 70 once it's maximized. If you were born before January 2nd, 1954, the restricted application rules may let you claim spousal only at FRA while your own grows, powerful for some divorce claimants. If you were born after that, deemed filing applies, so you'll be paid the higher of benefits when you file, and you can't choose spousal only before 70. In that case, timing matters. Often you wait until FRA to unlock the full ex-spousal, or you delay to 70 if your own will be higher. What documentation helps? Have your marriage certificate, divorce decree, and the dates handy: marriage start, divorce final, and birth dates. You don't need your ex's cooperation, but knowing their birth year and approximate earnings history helps estimate their PI. Social Security can verify eligibility from their records. Common mistakes to avoid: filing your own benefit early and locking in a reduction when an ex-spousal at FRA would be larger, remarrying at 59 and unintentionally forfeiting divorce survivor eligibility. Assuming your claim hurts your ex, it doesn't. And thinking you must wait for your ex to file. You often don't if you've been divorced at least 2 years and both are 62 plus. Quick win: make a simple comparison sheet. Your own at 62/FRA/70 versus 50% of your ex's PIA at your FRA, plus a column for divorce survivor at your survivor FRA. Choose the path that delivers the bigger check over the longest period. Then set your filing month accordingly. 5 dangerous myths that kill your benefits. Myth 1: take it early before Social Security runs out. Here's the thing most people miss: benefits are backed by payroll taxes and the trust fund. Lawmakers can change formulas, but current retirees have never had checks cut midstream. The real risk isn't running out. It's locking in a lower base that shrinks every COLA and the survivor's future income. If you're the higher earner and reasonably healthy, delaying to 70 usually beats panic filing at 62 by a wide margin over a long retirement. Myth 2: break-even age is all that matters. Those charts compare only your personal lifetime totals. Assuming you're single, no spousal coordination, no survivor math, and often ignoring COLAs and taxes. Real life is messy. In couples, one person often outlives the other. The survivor keeps the larger check, which is usually the higher earner's benefit, including any delayed credits. A bigger base today means bigger dollar COLAs for decades. If you judge only by a single break-even age, you'll often undercut the survivor by 6 figures. Myth 3: spousal is automatic at 50%. It's not automatic, and it's not always 50%. The maximum spousal benefit is up to 50% of the worker's FRA benefit. PI: if the spouse claims at their own FRA, file earlier, and that spousal portion is reduced for life. And you can't turn on a spousal until the worker has filed, unless you're in the restricted application group born on or before January 1st, 1954. Also, spousal benefits don't earn delayed credits. Waiting past your FRA won't increase the spousal amount. So the move is to target your own FRA for the spousal step-up if it's larger than your own benefit. Myth 4: delaying doesn't help your spouse. It absolutely does. If you're the higher earner, spousal benefits, while both of you are alive, are based on up to 50% of your PI. So delaying doesn't boost your spouse's current spousal amount. But survivor benefits are different. If you delay to 70, your delayed retirement credits carry over to the survivor. If you file early, that reduction carries over too. Your filing age sets the survivor floor. That's why the higher earner's delay is often the single most valuable move in the plan. Myth 5: work penalties mean you lose money forever. The earnings test before FRA can withhold benefits when your wages exceed the annual limit, but withheld months aren't lost. At FRA, Social Security recomputes your benefit to credit back those months, increasing your ongoing payment. The real issue is cash flow, not permanent loss. If you know you'll exceed the limit, consider waiting until FRA to avoid messy withholdings. And don't accidentally trigger reduced spousal early just to get a small check that will be withheld anyway. Now, let me give you quick one-line fixes you can use today. Worried Social Security will run out. Plan for longevity and survivor needs first, not headlines. Stuck on break-even charts? Add survivor math and COLA compounding to the comparison. Think spousal is automatic 50%. It's up to 50% of PI at your FRA only after the worker files. Believe delaying doesn't help your spouse. It raises the survivor's lifelong check if you're the higher earner. Afraid of the earnings test? Withheld is delayed, not lost. Coordinate claims with work. Here's the checkpoint moment. If you remember nothing else, remember the order. Protect the survivor floor by having the higher earner target 70 if health allows. Use the lower earner's own benefit earlier, only if needed. Then step to spousal at their FRA if larger. Avoid taking reduced spousal early unless you've proven it still wins. And if you're working before FRA, time your filing to avoid unnecessary withholdings chaos. Kill these myths, and your 62/67/70 decisions get a lot simpler and much more profitable. The simple decision tree, your claiming order in plain English. Let's turn this into a no-guessing flow you can follow in minutes. Start with the purpose, protect the survivor floor, and keep enough cash coming in. Everything else is tactics. Grab your SSA statement, note each spouse's PI, and circle who's the higher earner. That person's filing age sets the floor the survivor may live on. So the decision tree starts there. Question 1. Is the higher earner reasonably healthy? If yes, default to age 70. If no, run the survivor math. Would delaying to 70 meaningfully increase the survivor's check versus filing at FRA? If the uplift is big and you can bridge cash, still aim for 70. If health is poor and the uplift is small, consider claiming at FRA to avoid the steep early claim reduction and still protect some of the floor. Question 2. Do you need income before the higher earner reaches 70? If no, both wait. Lower earner to FRA for coordination, higher earner to 70 for the max. If yes, check the lower earner's own benefit at 62 versus their spousal at FRA. If their own at 62 helps cash and doesn't force the higher earner to file early, let the lower earner start their own benefit. Plan a step up to spousal at their FRA if it's larger than their own. Write those months down now. Checkpoint. If either spouse will work and is under FRA, the earnings test might withhold checks. If the worker expects to exceed the limit, push their filing to FRA to avoid messy withholdings. Withheld months aren't lost. They're credited later, but cash flow gets choppy. Keep it simple. If you're earning above the limit, wait. Now, spousal timing inside the tree. You can't turn on a spousal until the worker files, except for restricted application cases by birth year. So if the higher earner is delaying to 70, the lower earner relies on their own benefit first. At the lower earner's FRA, compare their own benefit to up to 50% of the higher earner's PIA. If the spousal is larger, step up right then. If not, stay on your own. Don't delay spousal past FRA. It doesn't grow with delayed credits. Next branch, divorced eligibility. If you're divorced after a 10+ year marriage and currently unmarried, you may be able to claim on an ex's record. Add a branch. If your ex's 50% PI at your FRA beats your own, plan to file for divorced spousal at your FRA, then switch to your own at 70 if your own would exceed it. If you were born before January 2nd, 1954, add the restricted application lever at FRA. Otherwise deemed, filing applies. Survivor default branch. Assume the survivor will rely on the higher earner's check. That means the higher earner's target is 70 unless health or a severe cash emergency intervenes. If you deviate, document why. Severe health issue or zero savings, high interest debt. Set a review date in 6 to 12 months. You're not locked in until you file. Safety valves keep you from over-optimizing on paper and underliving in real life. Safety valve A. If cash is tight, first consider a short bridge from savings or part-time work. Safety valve B. If debt is spiraling, the lower earner's early claim can stabilize the budget without shrinking the survivor floor. Safety valve C. If the higher earner truly must file, aim for FRA instead of 62 to avoid the largest reductions and to keep the survivor floor higher than the earliest claim would lock in. Here's the decision tree in plain English you can copy. Identify the higher earner by PIA. If healthy, target 70. If health is impaired, compare the survivor uplift from 70 versus FRA. Choose the better survivor floor you can realistically reach. For the lower earner, compare OWN at 62 to Spousal at FRA. If cash is needed, take OWN early. At FRA, step to Spousal if it's larger. Avoid turning on a reduced Spousal early. If either is working and under FRA with earnings above the limit, delay their filing to FRA to avoid withholdings headaches. If divorced, 10 plus years, currently unmarried, check ex-spousal at your FRA versus your own and map a switch to your own at 70 if it wins. If born before January 2nd, 1954, consider restricted application at FRA. Lock the survivor plan. Treat the higher earner's filing age as the survivor's paycheck decision. Document target months of entitlement, Medicare timing, and any bridge sources. Quick micro example. Higher earner PIA $2,600, healthy, lower earner PIA $900. Plan. Higher earner files at 70, lower earner files OWN at 63 for cash, then steps to $1,300 spousal at their FRA once the higher earner files. Survivor floor becomes the higher earner's age, 70 amount, lifting lifetime income, and every COLA that follows. If you remember nothing else, remember the order. Protect the survivor floor, then sequence cash. The tree keeps you honest when fear or headlines try to push you into a costly early claim. Paperwork, timing, and SSA pitfalls to avoid. A great strategy can fail if you file the wrong way or in the wrong month. So let me show you how to execute. Cleanly. First, file in the right window. Submit your application about 3 to 4 months before the month you want benefits to start. Social Security pays a month in arrears, so the month of entitlement you choose controls everything. Pick it intentionally. Don't let the system default you into the wrong start. Be precise with the month of entitlement. If you're delaying for credits, even 1 month too early cuts your delayed retirement credits. For example, if your age 70 birthday month is July, your entitlement month should be July, not June. If you accidentally choose June, you give up a month of credits forever. Put that month in writing on your application and in your personal checklist so you don't second guess it later. Avoid retroactive filing unless you truly need it. SSA can pay up to 6 months retroactive if you're past FRA, but those retro months erase DRCs you already earned. It's a stealth cut. If your plan is to maximize, say no to retroactive months. Use this language. I do not want any retroactive benefits that would reduce delayed credits. My month of entitlement is month, year. Simple, clear, and hard to misinterpret. Watch the spousal trigger. A common mistake is accidentally turning on a reduced spousal early while you're still working or while the higher earner is delaying. If the worker hasn't filed, you generally can't get spousal anyway. But if you or an SSA rep check the wrong box, deemed filing can kick in and lock a reduced rate. For the lower earner who needs cash, take your own benefit first and explicitly decline spousal until your FRA or until the worker files. Coordinate with Medicare if you're retiring around 65 and won't have active employer coverage. Enroll in Part B during your initial enrollment window to avoid lifetime penalties. If you're delaying Social Security past 65, but want Medicare, file a separate Medicare application. If you're keeping employer coverage, get the employer's credible coverage letter to avoid penalties later. Don't let Medicare timing force a claiming change you don't want. Choose the right channel for your situation. Filing online is efficient for straightforward claims. Single, no WP/GPO. Clear dates. If your case involves divorce spousal, restricted application eligibility, WP/GPO, or a month of entitlement nuance, book a phone or in-person appointment. Bring your one-page plan and say exactly what you're requesting. Ask the rep to read back the month of entitlement, any restriction language, and whether retroactive months were declined. Document everything. Keep a claim diary. Date who you spoke with, what they confirmed. Save screenshots of online submissions. When you receive the SSA award letter, verify 3 items: the benefit amount, the month of entitlement, and whether any retroactive months were applied. If something's off, call immediately and follow with a written request to correct it. Guard against earnings test surprises. If you're filing before FRA and still working, estimate your wages. If you'll exceed the annual limit, you might prefer to delay filing to avoid withheld months and cash flow whiplash. If you do file, tell SSA your expected earnings, so withholdings are planned rather than chaotic. Remember, withheld months are credited later, but the headaches are real. For couples, synchronize calendars. Write the worker's filing month and the lower earner's FRA month on one sheet. If the spousal step-up should happen at the lower earner's FRA, set a reminder 90 days ahead to file the spousal request, so it activates on time. If the higher earner is filing at 70, set that reminder 6 months ahead. Missed timing is a silent leak. Last, avoid helpful backdating. Sometimes a rep offers, "We can start you last month." If you're pre-70 or protecting DRCs, that's a problem. Politely decline and restate your month. Your script can be, "I'm maximizing delayed credits. Please keep my entitlement month as written." Do that, and your plan survives the paperwork. 3 scenarios. See the math, feel the impact. Scenario 1, healthy couple, higher earner delays to 70. Let's say Maria's PI is $2,700 and Dan's PI is $1,000. Maria is the higher earner. If Maria files at 62, her check is about $1,890. If she delays to 70, it's roughly $3,564 with delayed credits. Dan could file his own at 63 for around $725 to help cash flow. Then add his FRA step-up to a spousal of up to $1,350 because spousal is pegged to 50% of Maria's PA. Here's the impact you'll actually feel. With Maria delaying, their combined income later is Maria's larger check plus Dan's spousal if it's still bigger than his own. And if Maria dies first, Dan's survivor benefit can match Maria's actual amount at death, including her delayed credits, subject to survivor timing rules. Over 20 years, the difference between Maria filing at 62 versus 70 is over $1,600 per month before COLAs. Add even a modest COLA, and the dollar gap widens because raises compound on a bigger base. Cash now comes from Dan's early own benefit and possibly small savings, while the long-term floor for the survivor is anchored by Maria's age 70 decision. Scenario 2, one spouse with a health issue, protect the survivor. Assume Chris's PI is $2,400 and Taylor's PI is $1,200. Chris is the higher earner but has a serious health diagnosis. Taylor is healthy. Here's where the rules bend without breaking the plan. If Chris files at FRA instead of 70, Chris avoids the steep early claim cut while still providing income. But first, check the survivor math. Does Chris delaying to 70 live Taylor's likely survivor benefit enough to justify bridging? If yes, and they can bridge for 2 to 3 years using savings or Taylor's part-time work, delay remains the better move. If bridging isn't realistic, claiming at FRA can be a reasonable compromise. Meanwhile, Taylor can file earlier on their own record, say at 62 or 63, to help cash flow, then step up to spousal at FRA if it's larger once Chris files. If Chris passes first, Taylor's survivor check can reflect Chris's actual claimed amount. Filing Chris at FRA instead of 62 preserves a higher survivor floor than filing at 62 would have. That single choice can preserve hundreds per month for Taylor's lifetime. The key is speed. When health changes, rerun the survivor numbers and decide deliberately, not emotionally. Scenario 3, divorced claimant leveraging an ex's record. Picture Joan, age 66 with a PIA of $900. Her ex, Mark, has a PIA of $2,400. They were married 18 years and have been divorced for more than 2 years. Joan is currently unmarried. At Joan's FRA, the divorced spousal benefit could be up to 50% of Mark's PI, so up to $1,200 if that beats her own. That doesn't reduce Mark's benefits and doesn't require his involvement. If Joan was born after January 1st, 1954, deemed filing applies, so when she files at FRA, she'll be paid the higher of the two automatically. If she was born before that date, restricted application might let her take spousal only at FRA and switch to her own at 70 if it would be larger. Let's keep it modern and assume deemed filing. Joan takes $1,200 at FRA because it beats her $900. If her own benefit at 70 would rise to, say, $1,188 with delayed credits, it still doesn't beat $1,200, so she stays on the divorced spousal. If Mark dies first and Joan meets survivor criteria, she could be eligible for a divorce survivor benefit up to what Mark was receiving or entitled to, subject to survivor timing. Remarrying after age 60 generally won't block a divorce survivor, but remarrying before 60 usually does. That single timing detail can be worth thousands per year. Now, feel the compounding in dollars. In scenario 1, Maria's age 70 benefit is roughly $1,674 higher than the age 62 cut. Over 20 years before COLAs, that's about $402,000 more cumulative on her record alone. With even 2% average COLAs, the actual dollar gap is larger because the raises land on a bigger base. And if Dan becomes the survivor, he rides that larger amount for life. In scenario 2, filing the higher earner at FRA rather than 62 protects a meaningful chunk of the survivor floor. The monthly difference might be $400 to $600 for life. Bridging with part-time work or a small, planned draw from savings is often cheaper than locking in a permanent reduction. In scenario 3, the divorced spousal at FRA can be a simple way to increase income without waiting to 70, and the divorced survivor rules provide a safety net later. The win is knowing the gates: 10-year marriage, currently unmarried for spousal, survivor remarriage age rules, and filing at the right moment. Copy these moves, and you'll trade guesswork for math that actually shows up in your monthly deposits. Your one-page claiming plan lets lock your strategy onto one sheet you can execute without second-guessing. Grab your SSA statements and write these headings across the top: PI, FRA, age 62 amount, age 70 amount, spousal at FRA, survivor floor, target months, bridge plan, documents. Start with roles. Identify the higher earner by PIA and write survivor floor equals higher earner's filing age. Circle age 70 as the default target for that person if health allows. For the lower earner, write bridge role. Their job is to support cash flow without forcing the higher earner to file early. Now fill in numbers. For each spouse, record 62/70 FRA/70 amounts from the statement. For the lower earner, compute spousal at their FRA, up to 50% of the higher earner's PIA. Note, spousal is based on PA, not delayed amounts, and it doesn't earn delayed credits. In the survivor floor box, write the higher earner's intended claim amount, ideally age 70, because that's what the survivor may inherit, subject to survivor timing. Set target months. Write the exact month of entitlement for the higher earner at 70, the lower earner's start month for their own benefit, if you'll use it as a bridge, and the lower earner's FRA month for A. Potential spousal step-up. Add a reminder. File 3 to 4 months before each start month and decline retroactive months that would cut delayed credits. Bridge plan next. List the sources that carry you to those target months. Cash reserves, a small portfolio draw, part-time income, or a temporary expense cut. Put dollar amounts beside each. If work continues before FRA, note expected wages, and whether you'll exceed the earnings test limit. If yes, plan to delay filing to FRA to avoid withholdings chaos. Documents checklist for both spouses. SSA login, latest statement, W-2s, or tax transcripts to fix earnings errors if needed, marriage certificate, divorce decree with dates if applicable, pension details for any non-covered work, and Medicare coordination notes if approaching 65. If WEP/GPO may apply. Run the calculators and note the adjustments. Add contingencies. Create 3 if-then lines. If health changes for the higher earner, rerun survivor math within 30 days. If cash shortfall appears, use the lower earner's own benefit first or bridge with savings. Do not force the higher earner to file early unless documented. If working over the earnings limit before FRA, delay filing to FRA and revisit annually. Finally, include a mini decision tree. Higher earner healthy, aim 70, need cash. Lower earner takes own early, then step to spousal at FRA if larger. Divorced eligibility, check 10-year rule and plan an ex-spousal at FRA if it beats your own, then switch to your own at 70 if higher. Survivor plan, treat the higher earner's filing age as the survivor's paycheck. Post this sheet on the fridge and put calendar reminders 120 and 90 days before each filing month. You'll execute calmly and protect 6 figures over time. Your core move is simple. Protect the survivor floor by having the higher earner target 70, while the lower earner times their own and spousal benefits to support cash flow without shrinking that floor. Build your one-page plan today and share your 62/67/70 matrix in the comments so others can learn. Comment with your PI, no personal info, and target months so others can benchmark their plan. Real numbers help the whole community. Download your statement tonight, set your filing reminders, and protect those delayed credits. For the tax strategies that raise your net payout, watch my RMD and IRMA video next. And hit subscribe so you don't miss the next money-saving move.